Okay, so every month we see usually half the people that register for ONRIA are brand new. They've never been to one of our events. So I like to do just a little recap of really what we stand for with ONRIA. This is not the place for the elite investor that's the only place that they're allowed to be. Same with, the brand new investor. This isn't necessarily just for you, it's for everybody. We really try and bring the whole scale of investors together because, to be honest, we can all learn things from one another. And it's all about connecting people. That, like I said, that's one of our pillars. So we really do try and bring everyone together. If you found us, you are welcome here, no matter whether you haven't gotten started in investing yet or you're doing this full time. Another pillar is educating investors. Now, we're not going to say that we are the be all end all and know everything about investing, but that's why we bring together other speakers. Everyone has their own niche. They've learned different things in their experiences, and we want to learn from one another. So that's another pillar of ONRIA, is to bring in other investors, local investors that are active in the field, doing the things that you are doing or wanting to be doing, so that they can share their knowledge with you. The third pillar is inspiring action, because we don't want to be just another space where you show up once a month for a weekly network or monthly networking event or a monthly, webinar. You sit through it and then you don't do anything. Really, nothing's going to change if you don't take action. So this is a space where you can feel, get that motivation, get that encouragement, and really take action. Take what you learned tonight and apply it tomorrow, apply it later tonight. We really want to see you moving forwards towards your goals, so that eventually maybe you might be a speaker. I know we've had lots of people on here who were brand new to investing. Mark is one of them, who had gotten started earlier, maybe a year or two ago, and are now speaking because they've learned so much and they're willing to share back to our community. So that is who we are with ONRIA. It looks like we still have some people rolling in, but we're going to get started tonight. And thank you everyone who is saying hello in the chat. Awesome. It's so great to see you all here. We got lots of people joining us. Fantastic. Awesome. Okay, so to get us started, I wanted to ask, we had some requests to talk about the market. We're talking about, it's the end of 2020, we're moving into a new year, and there's been a lot of things happening this year, a lot of things that impact the economy and impact house sales and investing, and what does that look like moving into the future. So we asked Jeff Wybo to join us. Jeff is a realtor in London who specializes in working with investors. He is an investor himself. And Jeff, I was hoping you could take a few minutes and just give us your sort of view on what you see coming up in the next year.
Well, Jen, thank you for that today. And Jen just messaged me maybe like 2 hours ago, and I sent her the crystal ball emoji of what the market's going to do, because who knows what the market's going to do, but we can kind of estimate a little bit what's going to happen. But it's been a weird year. Everyone knows this, the pandemic. How are you supposed to really predict what's going to happen? We've seen it once, I guess, the wave. We all sat at home, and then we've seen that real estate as an industry really didn't stop. It's why a lot of people are trying to become a real estate agent right now, because they saw the realtors make all the money in the last year, while most Canadians were struggling a little bit. So if the second wave shows up right now, and if we're going to lockdowns, and depending on what city you guys are in, but if you're up and down the 401 right now, likely we're probably going to go into lockdown somewhere around Christmas. But I think real estate is going to go extremely strong in January, February, March. One, because we already know what the lockdown was like. We've seen it once. We kind of were scared the first time. I think the second time, the real estate agents are hungry, more busier right now. We're going to be out. We kind of understand all the COVID things. We play safe, and there's just going to be so much more demand where even the public is going to want to come out. So London stats right now, average price in October here, or October, negative, November was 541. Okay, that's London, Ontario, 541. And I got clients being like, hey, I'm looking to get something under 300. I'm like, well, it's not going to happen. Detached in London, you might find a townhouse maybe, but like detached, good luck. So the families are having a lot more trouble right now finding these good family homes. Why? Because, you know, they used to have to live in Toronto for, if anybody's listening, mostly for Ontario knowledge. They lived in the condos, they'd come take the condo elevator down and go to their job. Now we have 1 year of being comfortable doing Zoom. So many families are picking up and moving, and they're going from Brampton, they're going to Kitchener, they're going to London, they're going to Windsor, and they're buying mansions. And for example, London, Ontario, our luxury market probably starts at $1 million. That's nothing to a person in Brampton. They might as well not even look for a house in Brampton and Vaughan and all those areas, North Toronto. They're looking down this way. They're a truck driver. They can afford these things. They park the truck on the mansion driveway and get back on the 401 and drive the truck. That's pushing up our luxury market and then pushing up our average sale prices as well too. So pretty crazy. So like North London was 619, South London 555, East London 427 was our averages for the market there. Inventory is extremely low, and that's why after the new year here, it's going to continue to go crazy. All my listings, I cannot keep up right now with the showing requests and the calls and the questions, and so many people, so many buyers are still out there buying. One, London, Ontario, we have no snow on the ground at the moment. It's easy to go do showings, right? It's put your winter jacket on and you go. If we get a blizzard, that'll slow down January a little bit, but right now, super easy to go out. So inventory is under 2 months, meaning if no more properties listed, it would just take 2 months to clear out the market and it'd be gone. Okay, so that's all we have left for inventory. Yeah, the realtors are working their butts off. If you're gonna list, you know, you could do it right now. It's not the end of the world, but like there's still a lot of action on the properties. Get it onto the market. If you're trying to buy, if you're an investor, do your best to try to do off market. Don't overpay if possible on the market, or really try to work your deal out with yourself or with your realtor. And that's kind of my crystal ball for 2021. The Q1 at least is going to be insane. We'll see what happens in Q2, Q3, Q4. So whatever the government decides to do. Obviously, the government did not want Canadians to go poor. They kept giving everybody a CERB check. So the economy somewhat is rolling, but we're going to have to pay back all that. So we'll see what happens with all our low interest rates right now. But yeah, sell and buy off market.
Sell and buy off market. Sounds like a good plan.
Like it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeff, for joining us tonight. It was very short notice.
There's actually one trend that nobody's talking about. It's everybody subscribing to my YouTube channel. The numbers are going up here right now. So
there you go. You heard it. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel and click the bell to be notified of when new videos drop down. Is that right? Is that the right terminology?
Close enough.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeff. We are going to, oh wait, if you have, we had a question. Dan DeVoe, nice to see you, Dan. If you have commercial tenants, oh, it's rough out there at the moment. Yeah. What about commercial? What do you think is going to be happening with the commercial market?
What, to Jeff or to me?
Kind of both.
I think
they got to pivot. They can't continue to do the static commercial job that they did. They got to pivot somehow. So you're going to lose those tenants, but you have to get different tenants, more millennial tenants that need that kind of space, not the traditional office spaces that we're used to. So you've got to look for different commercial tenants now. So,
and the traditional retail is going to be difficult to keep moving forward, right? Commercial being large multifamily, I think is going to be really strong. I think it's probably one of the best asset classes to get into right now, if you're not already in it. But the retail aspect side of commercial is going to be hurting in the new year.
All right, repositioning commercial units as residential. Yeah, absolutely. There's some people that are doing that right now. Awesome. Okay, we're going to move along here. Thanks so much, Jeff. And we're going to move into our first speaker of the night. I just need to pull up his bio here. We have Mark Smith, the 7-2 mindset investor, joining us this evening. And I'm going to look down to read his bio because I didn't actually print it out here. So from being put behind bars under false accusations to being forced out of a high-paying job with a 6-figure salary, Mark Smith has built a successful real estate business in under 2 years. This man is a monster when it comes to taking action and getting done. Mark Smith is a real estate investor from London, Ontario. Well, I'll leave
swear, it's adults.
Okay, he's an investor from London, a strategic mindset architect, and a motivational speaker. He has his own podcast and YouTube channel by the name of the 7-2 Mindset Investor. And he is inspiring tens of thousands of people all over the world with his presence online and on social. So we're really excited to have Mark join us tonight. And he's going to be talking to us about 2020, the year of the victim or the victor. This is exciting. I'm looking forward to it. So take it away, Mark.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. So I'm just going to play something to start with, and then we'll get rolling. I'm just going to share my screen here. So, oh, looks like host disabled participant screen sharing. Whatever that means. There we go.
Did that work, Mark?
It works. Yeah, we're good to go.
In poker, you pull a 7-2, you're going to fold those cards. And I've been dealt many 7-2s in my life where I hit rock bottom.
How hard we worked, we were the direct result of how hard we worked. So the effort in was the results out based on our own choices.
When you're young, you have to learn how to earn and fight for what you want.
Who the fuck do you want to be? Like, do you want to be the guy that gets blackout drunk on YouTube, or do you want to be the guy that inspires like 15 and 16-year-olds?
Half of my rentals went empty, like within 6 months, because half the workers that were in my houses were also working. It was getting brutal. I was like, I'm gonna run bankrupt. I'm gonna be caged.
One of the first things that I worked on in therapy was overcoming the feeling of selfishness when I was doing things for myself.
A lot of people that usually just complain all the time. Oh my God, I'm like, dude, what are you complaining about? Life is amazing.
You die when your body dies, and you die a second time the last time your name is ever said.
You said it. I get the 7-2. I can play it or I can fold it. Like, what are you gonna do with that, and how are you going to use it? I want to invest, inspire, and motivate people to better their lives, to create wealth, and then I'm going to inspire those people to give that wealth away and help other people.
I leave not on my own understanding. My life is in the hands of the Maker of heaven. I give it all to you, God, trusting that you'll make something beautiful out of me.
What's going on, everyone? Hope you guys like that intro. Usually when I get asked to speak, usually there's a little bit of a warning. So I'm happy Shawn did say it's adults and there's kids here. I apologize. I am real and I'm raw, and I tend to forget my filters on these events. So first and foremost, I want to introduce myself. Actually, before I even introduce myself, I have to say thank you to Jenn and Shawn. What you guys have done for the community has just been stellar. It was actually your event. It was one of the first events I ever attended back in, I think it was late 2018. Connected, I mean, you guys just took everyone with open arms and really connected the dots for a lot of people, a lot of new investors. And, you know, my story is not unique. Anybody I speak to, they say the same exact thing. It was at that event I met Corey McKinnon for the first time. I've met Jeff, and it's just an amazing network. And it's amazing that although we've been hit with COVID, how pivoting to, you know, using Zoom and technology has still allowed for that networking to continue. So hats off to you guys for continuing the course, so to speak. Cool. Awesome. So my name is Mark Smith, and you can see the quotation marks, Mark Smith. So that is the name I go by. I am the 7-2 mindset investor. So for those of you that may have seen me around, I actually take pleasure when people in the community, they see me and they say, yeah, we see you everywhere on social media. We see you the first thing in the morning. We see you in the afternoon. We see you at night. So it means I'm doing something right. And, the reason why I go by the 7-2, a lot of people ask me what the 7-2 actually means. The 7-2 is not the formula for doubling the rule of 72 for doubling your money with interest, although it's a nice coincidence. The 7-2 is the worst possible hand you can get in poker. Okay. So if you draw a 7-2, the likelihood of winning is not good. So in poker, you're given a choice, and that choice is you can fold that hand. In life, you can't control the hands you're dealt, but you can control how you play that hand. And hence why I call myself the 7-2 mindset investor. And we'll talk about that here in a bit, why that 7-2 it has so much deep meaning for me. Also, if you can see behind me, it says a 7-2 real estate investor. I'm a type of individual that I'm a firm believer is done is better than perfect. So I started off as a 7-2 real estate investor, but I quickly realized that I wasn't investing in the real estate that was helping me project and where my trajectory was going. It was the investment I was doing in between my ears. And the reality is that for anyone that's on here right now, if you want to ask yourself what is the distance between you and achieving your goals and your dreams, I want you to take your hands and I want to place them on your ears. Now I want you to move them forward. That is the distance from you achieving your goals. That's it. It's between your ears. That's it. So if you want that Aston Martin, ask Jeff. He's going to have his next year. He wants it. He's going to get it. Why? It's between his ears. He'll find a way. So you have to always put that out there. So hopefully that makes sense for you. By the way, can I get a thumbs up? Can you guys hear me okay? Awesome. Cool. Perfect. So today's topic is that I really toyed with, and it was like, what do I do here? Like, this is such a great resource to come to ONREA. We have some amazing speakers talking about everything from Airbnbs to multifamily to do private lending and so forth. And how do I even put something together? And I said, why not talk about 2020? This was the year of the victim or the victor, really, at the end of the day. There's no in between. We all have the power to choose, and that's a choice that we can all make. Was this year for you, were you the victim or were you the victor? And whatever answer you give, again, it's between your ears. So when I was really thinking about how I can talk about my journey and really my goal here is to not only share light with respect to the strategies I've used, but really to serve as inspiration and motivation for those of you who are maybe new, who maybe are on their journey, maybe late in their journey, and have just been dealt bad hands. And I thought to myself, how do I share this? So by a show of hands, how many have seen or read, or heard about The Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell? Okay, so Joseph Campbell has The Hero's Journey. It's a big book, but you don't necessarily need to go that far. In fact, for those of you that have ever watched Star Wars, any movie, I guess you could say, The Matrix is all based around the hero's journey, and I'll do some parallels on that. So basically, we have our ordinary world, and then we have our special world. The ordinary world is where 95% of the world lives in. They live in that world and they just go in that half-ass circle back and forth and complaining about why their life absolutely sucks ass. So I'm going to be going through this and really using parallels in my journey in the last number of years. So let's talk about the ordinary world, my ordinary world. My ordinary world until really a couple of years ago was I have 20 plus years of high ticket sales and medical devices. Guess what I was selling until March 24th of this year? I was selling ICU ventilators. And with the ventilators, so I was on a call with the Ministry of Health. I was and basically giving them shit why they didn't order their ventilators in December when we told them to, because we saw what was happening in Wuhan. So having calls with them and right down to the meeting with the Ministry of Health, directing right to the Premier. So you can see how it had this wide variance there. produced over $80 million of sales. I had an income over $180,000 a year. And my first income property I had when I lived in Chicago. It was a cash flowing beast. I mean, it was a print press. Unfortunately, I wasn't running like a business. I didn't know any better. And essentially, at the end of the day, I was simply trading my money, my time for money. And, you know, a lot of people may look at that income and saying, wow, like, why would you leave that? The best analogy I can give when you work in something you lose passion for, or you're working for someone else, is like being in a minimum security prison. You get rewarded for good behavior. Good behavior is following all the rules, making sure you eat on time, make sure you only take your coffee breaks and so forth. But ultimately, you're living in solitary confinement because you are told how to think and how to operate. And that was just soul crushing for me. So changes had to be made. So ultimately, I was no different. I was a factory worker is what I was. I was a factory wearing a $6,000 suit. That's it. So as you can see through the ordinary rule, and I'm going to keep on going back to this. So on the outside, people may think, holy, wow, this guy had a great, I mean, he had a 4,000 square foot home. He was living life. His balls of crystal and so forth. I was an empty human being, which I'll talk about here. Oh, did I go forward? There we go. So essentially my ordinary world started to unravel. Okay. Went through a marriage breakdown, about $185,000 bill so far and going. Okay. So not talking about cheap money here. I had a relationship breakdown with my employer. I dealt with the atomic bomb of divorce cases and had to clear my name. And I, you know, initially I was very embarrassed talking about this, especially with, you know, there's some shitty people in this world that have this, they've just been taken advantage of. And then there's the other people that get taken advantage of because they can play the system. Unfortunately, I enjoyed that aspect, and I say enjoyed sarcastically. So I had to, you know, really make some tough choices where I could have lost everything. But I stood strong against the crown. And I remember standing in front of a female judge thinking, I'm done here. And her exact words is, you've been through enough, sir. It's time to go home. It's time to go home. I'm dropping everything. This is ridiculous. Because it was, you know, it was a smear campaign. That's okay. You know what? It's okay. I've been through it. And you know what? It was probably one of the best. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. Being behind, in spending a night behind bars in complete confinement. It's amazing. Again, we have the power to choose. Do I play the victim or do I figure shit out? And it was the safest I ever was. But during that time, I mean, it was a rocky road because I was isolated. Now you have to remember, I appear to be very, very extroverted. I'm very sociable, but I came to realize I needed to be loved all the time. I was one of the most popular guys everywhere I went is because I needed to feel that love. I needed to be popular. I needed to be the party guy. I needed to be all that. Ultimately, I was empty. I was alone inside because I was busy trying to please everyone else. And all that led to was more anxiety and where I had symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. So I eventually hit rock bottom. Okay. It was a really bad point in my life. And I remember sitting on my sofa and I was in this tripod position where my hands are on my face, you know, and Zara, my beautiful partner, comes home and says, "Are you okay?" And I said, I don't know what to do anymore. Like I'm like literally one feather away from just cracking. Like that's how close it was. I don't know what to do here. And it's scary when you're at that point. And I just said, part of my expression, fuck it, it's on. Let's bring it. Let's bring it on. And you know, when I call that the call to adventure. So when we're going back to Joseph Campbell, The Hero's Journey, that call to action really is important because that's where you're being challenged the most. And there's something you got to do about it. But what quickly happens is, you know, like I said, I was thinking about real estate and I said, how do I get out of this? Well, I figured because my net worth was completely disseminated because of the divorce and there was funds stolen from accounts and it was an ugly mess. I said, well, how do I fast track that? Well, everyone says the best way to do it is real estate. That's the quickest way. So what did I do is I jumped into real estate investing. And you can see in the back, if you guys can tell from the screen, there's a train. It's a train wreck. That's exactly what happened to me. Okay. So what I did was I essentially purchased 3 single properties and a multifamily property within 8 months in London. So many people say, wow, that's amazing. That's that's a property over 2 months just starting up. Yeah, but essentially what I did was what some people might do in 5 years, but I hit that wall faster. That's all that happened. I hit that wall and I didn't know any better. Okay. And I suffered from what I call dare. Has anybody heard what dare means? No? So it's a term that I call dumbass real estate investor. That's what I was. I was a dumbass real estate investor. And I suffered from dumbass real estate investor syndrome. Okay. Because I didn't know any better. I didn't know there was a network. See, my mindset was it's a scarcity. No one shares their stuff. And when I walked into the ORDEAL room, I was like, holy shit, I'm in church here. People want to share. Like Jenn is saying, meet this person. I meet Corey. Corey says, go talk to this person. And it was phenomenal. So that's where the veil was lifted. But prior to that, like I said, I mean, I was dare. I was suffering from that syndrome. I was trading time for money again, working hard, saving money, maxing out credit cards, maxing out my lines of credits, doing renos after work, and a typical dare syndrome, which is sleeping on drywall. I'm sure many investors have done that. Shawn's laughing because Shawn knows. So it's amazing the things we got to do. Ultimately, what was holding me back and the honest truth of what was actually fueling or giving oxygen to this insanity was my ego. It was my ego. And it was my lack of, it was actually all my insecurities. So with that, my broken mindset, my broken spirit, and my broken body. Okay. So here we call it the refusal of the call. So you know the message is there. Now you're getting that. You're trying to fight that call that you're calling. So what happens then? 2020 happens. And this is a pivotal moment. So between the ordinary world and the special world. So when I talked a little before about the ordinary world and how my whole life unraveled, the call to adventure because I hit rock bottom, and then the refusal of the call because I'm told real estate investing is the way to go, yet I'm still unhappy. It's destroying me. It's making me worse. I'm angry. I'm pissed off at the world. I'm scratching my head saying the bank's saying you can't get any more mortgages, yet I see everybody on social media saying I bought another property. And how the hell are they doing it? How come I can't do it? So what I did was by attending, events like ORDEAL and so forth, I had the pleasure of meeting, really the titans. And it was amazing when you meet the titans of real estate investing. And it's hilarious when you ask them like what I should be doing and so forth. It all goes back to one thing: get a mentor, get a mentor, get a mentor. So I was blessed by attending these events. I was blessed to have met my mentors. So Corey is one of them, Corey McKinnon. Okay, he's one of my mentors, Coach Corey. Okay, blessed for having Corey. Matt McKeever. It was a year ago at this time, just after this time, actually. It was maybe a couple weeks after this time. I received a message from Adam Martin. And Adam Martin says, Matt McKeever wants to see you at the mansion. I'm like, what? Matt McKeever, he's like the godfather of real estate investing on YouTube. He wants to see me. And I remember going to Matt McKeever's mansion, sitting across from him and having this conversation with him. And he was telling me that I need to attend some further mastermind events if I want to elevate my game. Completely selfless on his part. And from that point, I met Ben Murasan. And what I could say in 2020, the start of 2020, not just getting one mentor, I ended up having 3 mentors. See, I realized that it's not a question of wanting to be successful. It came down to I need to be successful because I was dying inside, and the collateral damage was just too immense. So I needed help. Okay, so at that point in time, I met the mentors, and that's where I crossed the threshold. So I got the 2 hands out there. So the matrix moment: you want to take the red pill or do you want to take the blue pill? And that was the defining moment of my life. And that was the rebirth of myself, where I took the red pill. Okay. So you can see here, crossing the threshold, and this is where you're entering the special world. I'm not sure if you can see my mouse, but this is where you're entering the special world. So you enter this special world and you're talking to your mentors and they're like, yeah, the world is amazing. You got to be positive. You got to do these, go in front of the mirror and tell yourself how beautiful you are and all these things. I see, I came from a medical background. See, I used to be a respiratory therapist and I used to teach at the bedside. The patients I used to work with are the sickest of the sickest of the sickest patients. So everything is clinical based and it has to be researched. So when I'm hearing that, oh, you have to do this and it's mind, body, spirit, and I'm thinking this is all like foo-foo stuff. This is only stuff they do in Vancouver type of mentality. By the way, I'm an Alberta boy, and it just didn't make sense to me. But as soon as I made that cross, I mean, I was tested on a daily basis because it's so easy for your previous reality to suck you back in. See, I'm listening right now to Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, and it talks about you go from your thoughts, your feelings to actions to results. What is the caveat, or what is the main thing that pushes our thoughts? It's our programming. It's our programming. And that my programming was testing me on a regular basis. Okay. Is this real? Oh, I have a high paying job. I want to go back there. Well, prison's okay. I mean, I'm still getting paid a lot. So why not? So you have these constant things. Of course, my tests are every day I'm getting played a 7-2 bad hand. My divorce lawyer saying, oh, we got another bill here for $10,000. We can't go on your case unless you pay that 10. Sounds like a freaking contractor, doesn't it? So going with the tests, and then on top of that, enemies. I started creating enemies. And the enemies, it's not like I went out and started to pick a fight with people. It's just I started to deviate away and started becoming more selfish. And I had to focus on me. And that was what I had to do. And I knew that was what my mentors had to do because, hey, I pay you. When you get a mentor, you pay money for it. It's not, but there's a reason why. It's to compress time. And it's proof of concept. I could look at any of my mentors and I could say, I want to be like that. Just tell me what I got to do. I'm going to do it. I'm not going to disagree. Just show me the way. And I'm going to do that. It's about being obedient. So I made enemies. And at the same time, I made allies. See, one thing I've learned too, I came from previous companies where it was always said, we're family. We're a family company. That's bullshit. There's no such thing as a family company unless you're the only boss and that's it. And I'll tell you why. Is because if your own family can take you down or put pressure on you or make you feel bad and that kind of stuff, there's reachers and there's leechers. Okay. Some of you may not admit, but within family, you might even think, I'm not going to lend that guy even $5 because he's going to, right? What an ally does, an ally is basically someone that makes sure you're going to be successful. And when you gain weight, they're going to be the one saying, what the hell are you doing? You've gained some weight, not like, hey, yeah, you still look good. That's okay. Just go for a walk next week. You'll burn it off. You need an ally that kicks your ass. So I was blessed, and I say that, and it may sound sadistic, but I was blessed to be surrounded by people that wanted to kick my ass and point me in the right direction. And where that came from was really a heavy emphasis on mind, body, spirit. So some of you on here are like, why the hell am I on here? This guy's not even talking about real estate. He's like talking this stuff and whatever. But believe me, I felt the same exact way. I'm like, what am I doing here wasting my time? And so there was a heavy emphasis on mind, body, spirit, because that piece in the middle there is awareness. Where that white area, that's awareness, and that is critical. So what happens? You're on this journey, and then all of a sudden, we call it the approach. So 2020, March, I think it was like March 22nd or something like that. My phone gets a text. The London District School Board has decided to extend the spring break for another 2 weeks in light of COVID. So people are cheering. I was at my daughter's basketball game and that kind of stuff. COVID threw a wrench in everyone's plans. I don't give a rip who you are in this world. COVID changed the game. This was a defining moment for humanity. So COVID comes into play. And I'm not like, we have Jeff on here. We have other people. Like no one knew. No one had a crystal ball. So everybody's thinking that the world's going to bottom out. It was just absolutely ludicrous. People are fighting for toilet paper. I mean, come on, people. Come on. The paranoia just got out for everyone. And so what happened with the whole COVID is I was on this journey. And again, we have the power of choice. And my choice was very simple. I either become COVID's bitch or I make COVID my bitch. 2020 was the best year of my life. Okay. And I'll talk about this why. So again, it's about perspective. So there's a great saying, and if you haven't read this book, it's by Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. And he has a saying in there, and I'll talk about him here. So when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. See, we can't control the insanity that's out there, but you can control yourself. It's not the situation that defines you. It's how you choose to respond to that situation that defines you. Plain and simple. So this book, I highly recommend it for those that haven't read it. He's a neuroscientist. He was actually imprisoned in not one concentration camp, but I believe 4. He witnessed his family die, his parents die. And at the end of it, he says, this is what he had. And, you know, it goes right down to the whole aspect where he could actually predict who was going to die next by their actions. Here's an example. Cigarettes. Cigarettes are currency. As soon as someone would light up a cigarette, he knew they were done because they didn't need anything to trade it for. So again, and I'm being like COVID, with all due respect, I know people have lost family. I get it. And absolutely. But again, when we're faced with these obstacles, do we head for the hills or do we face them front and center? Because that's what our lizard brain tells us to do. So for those of you who have read Linchpin by Seth Godin, that's our linchpin. That's our lizard brain. That's what the resistance wants. So, you know, I have to share the 7-2. So the world got dealt a 7-2, a bad hand. Do you fold it? Do you go fight for toilet paper, get gas masks, and build a bunker? Or do you just say, hey, I got to figure this out? That was our option. So having said all that, through this journey, the hero's journey, we got the ordeal. And the ordeal is basically that moment in time where you just realize it's like a self-reflection, that self-awareness. And this is where I realized that I can only take care of me and I need to fix what's between my ears, because it was so easy. The pendulum is so easy to shift back. I've had people reach out to me and saying the stuff I say on my podcast is 95% bullshit. I'm like, okay, enjoy your job. That's cool. The fact that I'll pull a Jeff Weibel, at least subscribe and ring the bell, right? I love that, right? So the ordeal was I pushed hard and it became unleashing the potential within. And what I'm sharing here is not bragging by no means. What I want to do is be an example for anyone that might be struggling with this or what have you. So on this journey, since, you know, the 7-2, we get hit with COVID, end of March, to give you an idea of what I've been able to focus on within my mindset, my body and my spirit, my mindset. I've read and listened to over 53 books so far this year. Last year, I maybe read 1. Okay. I started a podcast. I didn't get into analysis paralysis. Matt McKeever went on stage at one of the meetings and said, no one else is doing this. And I said, okay, I'll just do this. I launched a YouTube channel. I've joined multiple masterminds. I've completed the 75 Hard. So I'm not sure if anyone knows what the 75 Hard program is. There's a lot of people on Facebook that were showing it. I got my coin right here to show for it. It's the hardest program I did because it really tested my mental capacity and really tested how far I was willing to go. And if I could lie to myself, that means I could lie to other people. So if I was 11:30 at night and I said I had to get my exercise in, and I could say, oh, I could just do it tomorrow, no one will know. It's really testing yourself. Okay. Then I also wrote a book. Okay. It hasn't come out yet, but I've wrote a book just like that. Okay. On my spirit side, I mean, I did a social media purge. And for those of you that haven't done this, this is so much fun. Just go and you just purge people of your social media. And look, if they're just bringing negativity, you don't need them in your life. And if you do need them in your life, then maybe you're the negativity that's attracting that negativity. Okay. I had to remove the noise. When I say remove the noise, remove the environments I was in, whether it be canceling cable, not watching news anymore. That was one of the things that we did. Okay. We removed the noise. You know, there's a Persian proverb that says, if a plant doesn't grow in its environment, you don't go and change a plant. You take the plant and move it to another environment. So I had to remove the noise. The noise was the environments. So I was actually interviewed by Sarah Larby the other day. She asked me what I do for fun. And I actually had to think about it because old me was like, oh, I'll go hang out with my buddies and have a few drinks and that kind of stuff. And I said, the new me is reading a book with a mint tea. Like, yeah, I couldn't imagine saying that, but now I'm saying that, right? Journaling became huge for me. Practicing gratitude, self-love. See, self-love is so important. So 75 hard, the only reason I refused to do 75 hard until I did it is one of the tasks, so you have multiple tasks. One of the tasks is you have to drink 4 liters of water a day. You have to do 2 exercises a day. One has to be outdoors for a minimum of 45 minutes. You have to eat healthy. There's no alcohol. You have to read 10 pages a day, and it has to be a physical book of nonfiction. And I may be forgetting one more thing here, but and that's where I was going to go with. Yep. So, and you have to take a selfie. I refuse to take a selfie of myself. And the reason is I couldn't look at myself in the mirror because I hated what I saw. I could do everything else, but not take a simple picture of myself. So I had to go on that journey, fight the resistance, fight the lizard brain. So you want to become anti-fragile. And how you become anti-fragile is by learning. See, I take pride in being the stupidest dumbass in a room. Before, I used to take pride in being the smartest person in a room. And that's what led me astray. And then freedom through constraint, meaning that everything goes into a calendar now. Body-wise, because I was able to make these changes, lost 33 pounds, completed 75 hard, and now, taking care of my health, I've lost, like I said, 33 pounds by looking at my macronutrients. And what I did then was I created a morning routine and an evening routine. And the morning routine, it's like flying. The part of the flight that causes the most anxiety is usually the takeoff and landing. So why not have a great takeoff and a smooth landing? So my morning routine, wake up in the morning, I'm reading, doing my affirmations, practicing my gratitude, get my workout in and so forth. Then I'm on to my day. I'm off to a great start of the day. And then for an evening routine, I'm going to do the reverse. I'm going to go back to my gratitude journal. I'm going to look at my calendar for the next day, prepare myself, and look at what my top priorities are and get ready for the next day. The biggest thing I did was after, I've had a cell phone since I was like 16. I had the big honkers. I've always had a cell phone in my room until literally 6 months ago. And I said, enough, so I'm not putting the cell phone in the room anymore. Best decision I ever made. So, and it's for those of you that are wondering, okay, let's get to the real estate. Let's get to the real estate. Let's get to that spreadsheet. The fact of the matter is that there's a lot of investors that won't buy a property because the property has a foundation crack. Yet they're wondering why they can't get anywhere in their real estate career. It's because they have a foundation crack between their ears. And the reality is how do you expect someone to invest in you if you refuse to invest in yourself? That is the reality. So I needed mentorship to basically tear me down and build that foundation back up again. So we were dealing with the house of cards. So what happened? Let's get to the real estate. 2020, 5 flips. I've done 3 bursts, launched an Airbnb, 2 wholesales, 1 VTB, 6 private lending deals, 5 buy and holds, founded 4 corps, became a mentor, and quit my job. So I couldn't do any of this if I didn't fix this. So it's like if Bill Gates loses everything today, Bill Gates will still have $1 billion company year after. Why? Because he has this intact. So 2021, where does that take us? So I haven't, the next step is really the reward. All I've been doing is preparing. That's all I've been doing is preparing. I still have half the journey left. And in this journey, I may have lapses that are going to go back and forth. But what's going to allow me to continue the path is doing what works, which is focusing on my mind, body, spirit, and making sure I'm getting counsel, making sure I have mentors. See, I've made a pledge to myself. that I will be investing $1 million. $1 million into my personal development, not into a property, not into, because here's the proof of concept. If I've invested $70,000 already in mentorship, and this has allowed me to do this, what's the ROI? What's a return on investment? What's a return on time? What's all that? Because at the end of the day, there's an abundance of money. There's an abundance of deals. They're out there. The one thing we do not have an abundance with is time. I don't have time. Neither does anyone. So what do we have in store for 2021? So I have a great business partner who's also a member of Unreal. His name is Alex Solga. And we put together a company called Clydesdale Capital Group. Okay. We're really excited about this. And where the Clydesdale really comes from is the analogy is, and I think, is it Elena Cardone? She had said this in one of her books, is you take one Clydesdale, and I'm not sure if those who know the Clydesdales are beautiful horses. You see them in the Budweiser commercials at Super Bowl. I've actually had a chance to see them at the Anheuser-Busch brewery in St. Louis. Beautiful beasts. They can pull 8,000 pounds each, but the moment you put two together, they can pull 24,000 pounds. Okay. And the capital is not the money. The capital is what's between our ears, because if we have this, the money is just going to come. So really our goals for next year, by Q4 of next year, is to be doing 2 flips a month. And we're coming in as money partners. We're going to come in and we're going to help. We want to give people an opportunity. We want to have, we want to get more involved with the flip business as we are already, but be strictly money partners. That's it. And get an equity stake. We want to continue our wholesaling business. We're going to continue investing in other businesses. In fact, we just invested in a business last week, and we're going to continue our strategic joint ventures and alliances. So we're really excited about that. So like I said, all that stuff that's happened, that's just been the work. Hasn't been easy. We've had some flips go upside down on us. It happens. But again, going back to what Viktor Frankl said, we're given a choice. What do you do about it? Do you give up? Do you take your ball home? Or do you say, okay, let's figure this out? So in closing, I love this quote by Steve Jobs, and I apologize if it's a little blurry, but Steve Jobs said this best: "You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust the dots will somehow connect in your future." That first dot, when I go back to where I am today, and I go backwards on those dots, was the moment I crossed that threshold, took the red pill, and got myself a mentor. So for those of you that are new to investing, or maybe in investing and you just can't get over it, I'm going to give you three key points after this. Key rules. Number 1, get yourself a mentor. Point number 2, get a mentor. And number 3, listen to rule 1 and 2. And that's it.
Oh, that is fantastic. Thank you so much, Mark. That's awesome. I haven't jumped into the Q&A yet, but what a powerful presentation, sharing your journey, sharing what's brought you to this point, and, really what you've had to reflect on and grow through in order to get to where you are now, and where you're planning to be on the future. Does anyone have any questions for Mark? Yeah, show Mark some love. Put some stuff in the chat. It was fantastic. Put any questions. Yeah, put any questions you have in the Q&A. Yeah, we got lots of comments.
There
Great.
was a couple in there before.
Was there? Did I? No, I don't think so. Great message. So raw. Loved it. Great. Woohoo, Mark. Thanks for the presentation. Love it. Well done. Well done. Awesome. Oh, let's see. I don't think they were questions.
Okay.
Yeah, usually I'm the one that's asking all the questions. That's why it's so quiet.
Let's see. This isn't actually really related to your presentation, but maybe we can talk about it. What can you suggest as the first steps for someone who is looking to get into no money down investments?
Okay. If you want to get into no money down, well, it's not about the how, but it's about the who. That's what our mentors teach us. So if there's something I don't know, so for example, if like, congratulations, Shawn, you have a big acquisition today, right? And so I'm not sure if I can share it. I'm not sure if you want me to share it or not. So let's congratulate Shawn, 54 units today. That's what he got today, a 54 unit building. So to answer that question is, I don't know anything about 54 unit buildings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and ask Shawn, how do I get a 54 unit building? So with that particular question, you want to surround yourself with people that have experience doing that. So if you're looking for no money down and so forth, you want to be able to ask other investors out there. So in this case, you know, we could spend probably 2 hours on that subject alone, but doesn't hurt to throw it out there and ask someone, hey, how do I get no money mortgages? I mean, I can connect you with some people too. Just connect me on IG, and I'd be more than happy to point in the right direction.
Yeah. Did you want to add on to that?
Well, I mean, no money down. So people talk about, let's clarify what no money doesn't mean that there isn't money going into the deal. The money still has to come from somewhere, right? So it's not that you're not actually putting money down. It's that you're not putting your own money down, right? So you still have to find that, whether that's from private mortgages or vendor takebacks or whatever it is. Just want to clarify that, you know, there is, whatever that price tag is, you still have to pay the price tag, and the money comes from somewhere. No money down means that it doesn't come from you.
Right. Question for Mark. How do you overcome when your demons pop up?
I love that question. Thanks, Ishan. That's a beautiful question. I'm going to give props to one of my mentors here, Corey. I struggled. There was in this journey, and there was that point where I talked about that refusal of the call, which is, I'm doing all these things. Why is nothing working, and so forth. And so I suffered from anxiety, and what my anxiety attacks would do, and the best way to describe it, I'd be standing there talking to someone, and there'd be no trigger. It would just sort of happen. And what would happen is I could actually feel this. The way I described it was the hand of the devil. And it was a warm hand that crept up my back and became very hot and crept over my head. And I could be in a conversation right now and breaking out into sweat without even knowing. And now you got to fight that resistance, and you can't do it alone. And Corey said, you're missing one thing. You're doing the mind, body, spirit. You're doing all these things, but you've missed one element. I go, what's that? He goes, you're not practicing gratitude. Gratitude was the kryptonite for fighting those demons. That was it was. So essentially what happened is all the people in my world, in my life, that had thrown me those 7-2s and were trying to take me down, I didn't send them hate then. I sent them love. Like, like Tony Robbins says, I'm not your guru. I'm like, this is like, can't believe I'm saying about this, but I don't normally talk. I didn't talk like this a year ago, but I talk because it works, because I believe in it. I've seen it work. So my anxiety levels have just like, why? Because I'm doing that. So it's really the power of the subconscious mind. Fantastic book is by Dr. Joe Murphy. The Power of the Subconscious Mind really talks about this. Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck talks about this. I mean, it's out there. So anyways, so that's how I hope that helps.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Let's see. I think we had a couple more questions come in here. Great talk. This is from Dale. Great talk, Mark. You have a lot going. How do you structure your day and your week?
Great question. So there's one thing anybody should do, and I highly recommend doing this, is you want to find out, it's called a predictive index. Find out what your strengths are and find out what your weaknesses are. My old world was you focus on your weaknesses and you build that up, and that just takes away from your strengths. So really at the end of the day, my biggest strength is I'm very passionate, I'm driven, I'm relentless. Okay. My biggest, I don't want to say weakness, we'll call it my biggest obstacle, is I do not like paperwork. You put me in front of an Excel spreadsheet, you'll see a grown man cry. That's what happens, right? So really what happened to me is, and I tend to get very distracted with things. And what I mentioned on one of the slides, freedom through constraint. So one of my other mentors, Matt McKeever, talks about living out of his calendar. So I time batch everything. So what happens is every day in my calendar, I set a time. This is the only time in the day I'm checking my email. I've turned off all my notifications on social media. And I've done all this stuff. So what I do now is I live it on my calendar, and that's everything goes in there. So that's how I'm able to structure my day and control the day instead of the day controlling me. So it's there's actually and the other ultimate thing you have to do is do an audit for yourself too. And that's it. And so, and people will ask me, hey, what's your secret for balance? I'm the wrong person to be asking about what balance is. However, I've come to realize it's not about balance. And I joke about this because if you're looking for balance, you have a better chance finding a rainbow colored unicorn. What you need to do is manage your priorities. Manage your priorities. I thought for the longest time when my partner would say, oh, we need balance and you need to spend time with us. I was like, how the hell do I spend time with, like, how do I spend 12 hours of my day with you guys? She goes, are you kidding me? We're just asking you to put your phone away at the dinner table. I'm like, phew, I could do that. Right? So it's just about managing priorities.
For sure. And we're going to go a little deeper into that in just a little bit, talking about how to do that. Dale continued on with this question, talking about how do you prioritize and stay focused. And, I think you did a good job of answering that, Mark. And like I said, we're going to go a little deeper into that in just a bit. We also had someone who asked, what can you suggest for beginner investors who cannot afford a mentor?
Corey, you want to share?
Yeah, sure. Because I get asked this sometimes. I'm in that world, and I always tell people, like, you can always afford something. Okay, you guys can afford the best classic books out there. I mean, pick up a copy of Think and Grow Rich. You can probably get it used at the Goodwill. There's so much great free content out there. I'm not saying that that's gonna, YouTube it's a university, but it's also, you can find whatever you want on YouTube as well, because you might not be able to get hyper focused on something. But I mean, start off with what you can afford. And my biggest advice is always, if you're providing enough value to the world and the marketplace, you'll always get reciprocated back too. So make it your mission to maybe get a job in sales or get some kind of a side hustle in sales where you can actually just provide more value, and it's not like you're just trading your time for a paycheck. You actually get to get some profits or something like that. Like sometimes you just need a different kind of a job or career or a side hustle so you can afford to get into the smaller rooms, but you can all afford something for sure.
Absolutely. And to build off of what you just said, there is a reframe of how you think of it. Instead of saying, I can't afford a mentor, say, how can I afford a mentor? What do I need to do? Right. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that coming up.
Well, listen, every month, ONRAVELLING provides you 2 mentors each month, right? Like for free. So every month we've been doing these Zoom calls. We've had at least 2 different speakers on here who have provided value, just like Mark did here tonight. And that's mentorship for free, right? If you take what he's giving you and the knowledge and, take action with it, like you would if you had paid for that from Mark for a 2-hour call or a 3-hour call, that's mentorship right there. So, you don't necessarily need to pay for it right off the bat. Like Corey's saying, you can, work up to that where you're getting some free stuff, you're getting some stuff on the internet, then you get some books and then some courses, and then perhaps you start to get like an actual coach or paid mentor.
Or even sign up to volunteer. I mean, I've had friends of mine who literally took a year off work. They wanted to, do really well in the fitness industry. They went and volunteered at Beachbody. If people have ever heard of Beachbody before, like they literally wrote a letter to the CEOs, and probably didn't land on Tony Horton's desk, but like it got up to the higher levels. And he's like, I'm going to work for you for 6 to 12 months for free. If you're okay with that. And I don't want to sign a non-compete because I will do something similar up in Canada, but I'm not going to try to recreate what you guys are doing. I just want to give back for free.
Cool.
Good point. And you know what? That's something else. You don't have to be talking to the head of the CEO of a corporation. Even there's so many people that I'm sure have reached out to you, Corey, and reached out to you, Mark, and have reached out to you, Shawn, saying, hey, can I just pick your brain? Let me give you a tip. Don't ever start a conversation that way. And it's not disrespectful, but come into it with value. What can I do to help you? And then in return, I can get something. It's just a way of, what am I trying to say? It's a way of reframing what you're looking for, right? So there's another little tip. when it comes to mentorship.
The one thing, can I add something to that, Jen?
Yeah.
So I'm going to call out someone in the comments. His name is Dwayne Becker. And I'll tell you a story about Dwayne Becker. So, you know, I highlight my journey. I'm pretty visible on social media. And Dwayne kept on saying, hey, we got to meet for coffee. We got to meet for coffee. We got to, and I can't, because I'm time batched. This is what I'm doing. It's no disrespect because to anyone, this is what we do. And he said, enough's enough. I know you go for a walk every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning. I will meet you there and I'll bring a coffee. How do you take your coffee? And he's become an ally since. Like, I have to walk anyways. These are the type of things that people can do. It's not just about, hey, I'm going to pick your brain. Let's go for a walk. Let's go have a chat. I don't lose anything.
Exactly. Love it. Great idea, Dwayne. Good job. We have a couple more questions here. Does anyone have to wait for enough is enough moment to get their shit on track when you know you need to pivot before it happens? Do you want to take that one, Mark?
Sure. I mean, absolutely. Everybody's going to have a different type of personality, first and foremost. You know, there's a saying that the military has, I think it's like the 5 or 6 Ps: proper planning prevents piss poor performance. And for me, I'm the opposite. I'm like done is better than perfect, and I'll figure it along the way and so forth. But really, at the end of the day, you know, I was dealt bad hands and so forth. But at the end of the day, anytime any negative trigger happens, that's you telling yourself something. The moment you start questioning yourself is a great trigger point, saying, hey, I need to look into this deeper or actually have a conversation with it. Don't let it fester. So I just think there's that. And then the other aspect to that as well, I believe, is, in my opinion, is continue pushing to learn. Don't wait for those moments to happen. Just keep on pushing to learn. Like I said, I've done 53 books this year. So I'm always digging that well deeper and deeper with knowledge and so forth, so I can better prepare myself. Okay. So I hope that answers your question, but that's the way I look at things now, is that because, and the other thing as well, which is a big thing, is confidence. Where people get held up is confidence. See, confidence is a skill. Confidence is not something you're born with. And so, but how do you build confidence? Is by taking action. Your first time riding a bike, you could be so sloppy, but what happens after the fact? Could be skating, could be public speaking. So you have to build that confidence. And when you build that confidence, that's when you're already pivoting.
Absolutely. Awesome. Awesome stuff. We had a couple more questions come in, but I'm actually going to put those on hold and wait until the end of my presentation to dig into those. So everyone, give Mark a big hand. That was fantastic. Thank you so much. Great job. Guys, go listen to his podcast. Go download. Where can they find that? Is that on Apple?
It's on everything. I think it's on Spotify, Apple. So it's 72 Mindset Investor. You can go to any of those. You can go to, YouTube has it as well. In fact, I actually had the pleasure of interviewing Dr. John DeMartini last week, who was actually on The Secret. So that's coming out. So if you want to talk about dialing it up 100 notches, I actually had to take a nap after that because I was just like, oh my. So anyways.
That's fantastic. I can't wait for that to come out. I will absolutely be watching that, listening to that. That's awesome. Cool. All right. Well, we are going to move into.
Give you center stage here.
Get out of my way. We are going to move into the second part of the evening, which is actually just going a little bit deeper into what Mark talked about, which is, mindset and moving into goal setting, and goal achieving. How can you make this your best year ever? So I am going to share my screen here and hope it works. There we go. Okay, let's go into, where's presentation mode? View, present. Can you guys put in the chat if you can see my screen? Yes or no? Oh, thumbs up. Perfect. Fantastic. Oops, I started on the wrong screen. Let's back this up. Back that baby up. There we go. Okay, so we're going to talk about your best year ever. And before we do that, actually, I want to give a big shout out to Corey McKinnon. Corey has been such a huge help with ONREA, with our online Zoom events. He has been in the background, running. I'm horrible with technology. So he's been there to kind of, mute people and unmute people, and let's throw this link in. And he's just been fantastic keeping everyone engaged. So everyone give a hand to Corey. Thanks so much, Corey.
Yay, Corey.
All that you do with ONREA. Now, this is a little bit more of a workshop than something that I am preaching to you. So what I would love for you to do right now is a couple things. Number one, get a pen. If you don't have a pen. Number two, get a journal or a piece of paper and keep your phone nearby. You are not going to use it to chat or, Instagram with anyone, unless it's to Instagram me on this presentation. But you might want it to take pictures of screens because we're going to try and move quickly through this. I got a little carried away. I made a lot of notes. So I don't get to present very often. So I guess I got a little carried away. So we're going to go quickly through this. Now, this is called Your Best Year Ever. And if that sounds familiar, it's for a reason. It's actually based off of the book by Michael Hyatt. This is what it looks like. And I know Corey McKinnon has one of these copies. He showed it to me before we got started. And basically everything that I'm going to talk about tonight has been taken from this book. So I'm going to try and distill all of the nuggets out of here. And we are going to use this to help us create and cultivate our best year ever by using a 5-step plan that he goes through in his book. So moving along. Now, Mark already talked a lot about mindset, and I want to spend some time talking about it too, because it is just that important. And it's hilarious that he talked about the crack in a foundation, because that was the exact analogy that I was going to talk to you about. And when you talk about, just take a minute, close your eyes, visualize for me for just a minute. Think about building your dream home, okay? Think about the hours you spend, planning out all the rooms, planning out all the features, all the finishes, and you're so excited. You can see it in your mind. You dive right in. You're building the walls, you're buying the furniture, you're getting everything, you're painting the rooms. You're so excited. You dive in and you take 0 time to build a foundation. What's going to happen to your house without a foundation? Okay. Most of us approach our business and our personal goals much the same way. And before we can attempt any new goal, we need to ensure that we have put the time and the energy into building a strong foundation. So tonight isn't just about reaching your money goals or reaching your investment goals. I'm going to invite you to think a little broader than that. And we're actually going to look at 10 different areas of your life, because those areas have an impact on your business goals. And we're going to be exploring a few different things here tonight. So we're going to look at your life score, and Corey's going to pop this up in the chat. There is a link called What's Your Life Score? I'm going to have you guys take a minute to do that. So Corey, do you have that up? I can't, I don't see the chat right now. I don't know how to bring up the chat. See Q&A.
Just popped it in there, Jen. We're good.
Oh, perfect. Awesome. So I want you guys to take a minute to do it right now. We're going to take a pause. I want you to do this. It takes 2 minutes, if that. And I don't want you to think about it too much, okay? As the questions come up, I want you to just put in your, the first thing that you feel, all right? Don't think it over too much. Pop it in. And once you're completed, I want you to put in the chat that you're all done. Okay. And Corey, I can't see the chat, so maybe you can give me a heads up when, oh, there's the chat. Now I see it. Oh, wait, does everyone see the chat now? I don't know. Can you guys, you can see my screen. You can probably see the chat. Can you see the chat? Yes or no?
Everyone's busy.
I know, I'm giving them too many things to work on at once.
Mark's giving me the thumbs up.
Mark, can you see the chat right now? You can, so I'm gonna put that away. Okay. So as you're completing this, your life score, I want you to really, think about it. Life is multifaceted, right? And each domain of our lives affects the others. Your physical condition impacts your work, right? Stress at work impacts your life at home. And all of this interplay means that you've got to give each domain the appropriate attention to experience progress in your life. So progress can only start when you get really clear on where you're at right now, which is why I wanted you to do this life score. So taking time to reflect and take stock of where you're at and where you're stuck is critical. Confidence, happiness, life satisfaction, those are all byproducts of our personal growth. And that's what we are going to move into. So we're going to talk about our beliefs. We're going to talk about review, and then we're going to get into the good stuff of goal setting. So check out your life score. I'm not going to have you tell us what it is in the chat. That is your personal business, but I do want you to pay attention to the different levels of satisfaction. What is really performing well for you right now in your life? What is really not performing well? Where are you just kind of floating by in the middle of the ground? It's okay, it's not bad, but it's not super, but it's not terrible. This is your benchmark. This is where we're starting from, okay? And there's no judgment with it, all right? I just want you to plot where you are right now. Okay, so we've completed the life score assessment. Everyone good? Yes? Okay. So tonight we're going to talk about overcoming doubts that you might have about creating your best year. COVID, we're in COVID times. Can you really have the best year ever in 2021? We're going to talk about your beliefs. And the next step is getting closure on your past. Dragging the worst part of the past into the best part of the future is one of the reasons our goals fail. So this is a process that we'll go over. We're also going to go over a 7-part framework about setting goals that really work. And then we're going to talk about how to stick with those goals over the course of the year, because how many of us have dropped off, when you make those New Year's resolutions January 1st, and by January 4th, you're like, oh, well, there's always next year. So we're going to talk about, the different strategies and tactics you can put into place to ensure you stay focused and on track and actually reaching those goals. The first step, and let me know if I'm going a little too quick. I'm going to, I realize our time together is limited, so I'm going to try and keep this moving. The first step is to believe in the possibilities. And this may sound silly, but beliefs really shape your reality. Can you guys see, sorry to stop for a sec, but do you see everyone on the side of the screen or just me? What do you see right now? I just want to make sure it's not distracting. Okay, so talking about beliefs and shaping your reality, not getting what we want out of life is normal. It's part of the human experience. But, to shield ourselves from future disappointment, we tend to develop a cynical, self-protective attitude towards life, right? I want you to think about something. Think about the dog that has been raised with a collar and an electric fence, okay? Think about what that's like. Every time it gets zapped, it learns that there's a barrier, and it learned how far it can venture, right? So as soon as it gets close to the electric fence, what does it do? It stops, because it knows if I go any further, I might get zapped, all right? Funny thing is, even when you take that collar off, it will still stop at that electric fence because it's been conditioned. And we're all being conditioned daily on a subconscious level. And that conditioning creates a limiting belief. Oops. So it all begins with your mindset. And Mark touched on this when we think about scarcity thinking versus abundance thinking. take stock for a minute, stop and think, am I a scarcity thinker? Do I worry that there's never going to be enough? Do I feel like I have to compete with everyone so that I can stay on top? Or do you hoard your knowledge? Are you afraid to share things because someone else might steal it? This is all looking at scarcity thinking versus abundance. Do you think there's always enough deals out there? How about collaborating? How about believing that the best year is still to come? So this is a time when you can really need to be honest with yourself and think about, am I in scarcity, or do I really feel like I'm in abundance? Okay, make a note of that. Where do you think you are right now? There are 3 types of limiting beliefs, all right? We know limiting beliefs can come from hitting barriers in our past, just like that dog with the electric fence. But what are some other things that contribute to a scarcity mindset? One, it could be the news media, especially this past year. It is a lot of doom and gloom that we see on TV. And I want you to be clear on something. This is done on purpose, okay? Fear triggers the more primitive parts of our brain and keeps our eyes glued to the threat. And the media increasingly appeals to fear in order to deliver eyeballs to their advertisers. So, being on watching TV, being glued to CNN, that is affecting how you're thinking about the world, and it may not be in the best way. Also, social media. How much negativity have we seen on social media this year between COVID and the US election? I mean, we've been inundated with negativity, not to mention the whole comparison thing that happens with social media. That can also contribute to scarcity type of thinking. Also, negative relationships, everyone in your family, your friends. Mark mentioned earlier about doing a purge. Those all contribute to how we view the world. But recognition is the first step to change. So think about who you're surrounding yourself with. What's not in your world right now that must be there? If we want to have our best year ever, we need to begin by recognizing which of these 2 types of thinking dominates and intentionally move towards abundance. We have to recognize this if we're going to have the best year ever. So how do you do that? How do you upgrade your beliefs from scarcity mindset to abundance? Well, like I said, the first thing is to recognize that you do have limiting beliefs. And the best way, think about it. If a belief reflects black and white thinking, it might be a limiting belief. It could be coming from the news, social media, a past failure, either yours or someone else's. If you see someone who tried to do something and failed, that can instill a little bit of fear in us as well. Like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough either, right? The next thing, and this is important, is to record your limiting beliefs because it helps externalize it. When you externalize it, you're free to evaluate it. And the next thing you want to do is review it. Is your belief empowering? Is it helping you reach your goals? Try to look at your beliefs objectively. Until you write it down, it can cloud your thinking. So honesty is the evaluation key. The next thing to do to upgrade your belief from scarcity to abundance is reject or reframe, right? So many times a belief, it just isn't who you are. And you don't identify that until you single it out and analyze it. Has anyone ever told you you're selfish? Well, if you stop and think for a minute, you might have done something that's selfish. You might have done a selfish act. But if you sit back and look at it, you might think, I'm not a selfish person. That was sort of a one-off, a one-time. I need to apologize to someone, but I'm not a selfish person, right? So you need to sort of step back and analyze, is this true about myself? The other thing is reframing. And reframing is a little more involved. So many limiting beliefs have a kernel of truth in them, which is what makes them so convincing. But they're not the whole truth. So just remember, You can always recast the story. When we obsess on what's wrong, we miss what's right. So it skews and blinds us to opportunity. The last part of how we can upgrade our beliefs is revising the belief. And revising your beliefs doesn't mean, repeating affirmations to yourself over and over, although those can be helpful. I mean, revising your limiting belief is sort of, what's the word? Like this. I have more, okay, here we go. Revising your belief could be thinking about, I'm too old to start investing in real estate, okay? Instead of having that frame of mind, reframe it to think, I have more life experience that can propel me to success faster. Okay, do you see the change in frame? I'm too old. I have a lot of life experience that can help me get further faster. Okay, or it could be the opposite. I'm too young and inexperienced to have rental properties. What if you reframe that to say, I've got energy and enthusiasm to be an awesome landlord? Okay, so the trick is you really need to start living it like it's already true. And that can be a challenge. How are we liking this so far, guys? How are you feeling? Oops, did I miss a page here? No? Okay, so step 2 is to complete the past. And what I mean by that is many times it can be uncomfortable to look back on your year, right? When it comes to setting new goals, a lot of us think, oh, well, last year didn't go very well, so let's just forget about it and start fresh. And the thing is, we can't just ignore it away, because whatever we've experienced in the past year, the past 12 months or even further, it has to be addressed. If we ignore it, it just comes back to bite us because we haven't taken the time to reflect and learn from our failures. So again, the key is to write it down, and feel free to take pictures of, screenshots of what you see on here, because these are all questions that you need to be asking yourself if you want to make this your best year ever. Remember, you have to write it down. There is so much power in writing things down, and it's a powerful tool for leveraging backwards thinking. But you can only do it if you write it. If you just think it over in your head, it all gets muddled. So write it down, okay? And where are you going to start? Well, first, when you're thinking back on the past 12 months, state what you wanted to happen. Sounds simple enough, but reflect back. What did I really want to happen this year? And don't just focus on 1 or 2 areas. Don't just think about business. Don't just think about how much money you have. Really remember that your lives consist of 10 different domains, spiritual, intellectual, emotional, physical, marital, parental, social, vocational, avocational, financial. It's important to get clear on what you wanted to happen in these domains, and then start to feel into it. The next step is to acknowledge what actually happened, right? Jot down your disappointments so that you can start doing business with them. And what I mean by that is, like I said, it can be uncomfortable to think about what we failed at. And it's tempting to ignore that part of it. And the point of regret is not to try and change the past, but to shed light on it for the present. So a lot of your limiting beliefs can come from the failures that you've had, but you may find that they weren't failures so much as your mindset at the time was telling you you're failing, right? You're failing, you're failing. Is that what your head was telling you? And then you stopped working towards it? So not being acknowledged for a job well done can also move into, a feeling of failure. And it can give you that feeling of, I guess I'm not good enough. So I want you to also think about, where do you feel like you should have been acknowledged where you weren't? the next step is to acknowledge what actually happened. So it's important to look at, not only what went wrong, but what went right. Okay, how your beliefs and behaviors contributed to the outcome. It's key to recognize our agency and how far we've overcome obstacles already. That gives us, what Mark said before, confidence. It gives us confidence to move into the future. So maybe think about over this past year, what have you done? Maybe you completed a training, or you paid off the last of your, credit card debt or student debt. It's important that you recognize this. And as you think back, you may find that there's themes that come up. It could be single words, it could be phrases, it could be beliefs or behaviors, but it could be your theme was making difficult decisions in a challenging economy. It could have been, challenging negative beliefs about your body. Maybe it was restoring a damaged relationship. Those are all things that, you might have completed this last year and you should be giving yourself credit for. The next step to changing is learning from the experience. Those who cannot remember the past are destined to repeat it. So if you're having trouble identifying your key lessons from this past year, one way to suss them out is to ask, what was missing from your success? Maybe you had wished you had saved more money, or maybe it was spending more time with your spouse. So jot down this question: what were some of the major life lessons that you learned? In order for us to retain all of these lessons, you're going to want to distill your discoveries into short little statements. If something in your beliefs and your behaviors contributed to the gap between what you wanted to happen and what actually happened, something in the middle has to change. And it's not enough to learn from the experience. You really have to change your beliefs and how you act upon them. So how you're going to do that is completing an after action review. And we're going to move through here again. So I wanted to go back to the life score assessment just for a sec to talk about regret. There are lots of benefits to regret. Regret is a form of information. It is critical to avoid repeating in the future. And it also creates motivation for change. Regret can work like a moral compass, signaling when we've gone off track. So looking at your life score assessment, which domains did you score the lowest? Whatever those domains are, it's time to rethink regret. Instead of looking at it as a roadblock to progress, think of it as a road sign pointing the way forward to a better future. These are some areas that you're going to want to focus on. Now, talking back to gratitude. Gratitude is so critical. And it really is a game of contrast, isn't it? Our circumstances look a certain way, and then something happens to improve them. And gratitude happens when we take notice of that distance in between the two. Suddenly we have something to be grateful for. It keeps us positive, optimistic, and able to keep coming back for more when life throws an obstacle in our way. So gratitude, I'd love to introduce to you a gratitude challenge. And this is something that I'm going to invite you to do till the end of the year, to the end of 2020. I'm going to invite you to do a gratitude challenge. And it could be posting to social media every day, something. What are you grateful for in your life? And this is just a list of ideas here. What you could do is do a short video, or it could be a collage of pictures, whatever you feel drawn to do. And just recognize what it is that you're grateful for. Post it on social, #gratitude challenge. I would love to see everyone that is watching this do that for the rest of 2020. Because gratitude isn't just a mood, it is a practice. You have to practice it. And, some other things you can do to get you started if you're not feeling drawn to the whole social media challenge, which is fine. Start with maybe beginning each day thinking of 3 things that you're grateful for. And you could even end the day thinking of 3 things you're grateful for before your feet hit the floor. What are 3 things that you can just say that you're super grateful for. Practice thankfulness by expressing gratitude for the gifts you have, and keep a gratitude journal. That's something that Mark mentioned earlier. So the first couple things that we talked about, I know I tried to kind of move through them quickly, but that is really about the foundation. That is dealing with the base so that we can build for the future. And this is where we're going to move next. How many of you write your goals down? Put it in the chat. Do you write your goals down? Yes or no? Curious to know. I should really pull this up on my phone so I can see the chat. Do you write down your goals? Well, I'm going to talk to you about why you absolutely must write down your goals. And I've already said it. There is so much power in putting pen to paper and writing down your thoughts and your goals. Actually, one study completed at the University of California found that the mere act of writing down a goal boosted achievement by 42%. So there's a lot of reasons. Again, number one, clarity, right? And if you're going to write something down, you have to know what you're going to write. Well, if you're unclear about your goals, it's going to be really challenging to write something down. So writing helps give you clarity. It also connects dreaming with intellect. Stay with me here. You have to have some sort of emotional and intellectual engagement to help anchor you into your goals, right? Also, when you write down your goals and review them regularly, something else we're going to talk about, it provokes you to take the next most important step, okay? And here's a huge thing, and I'll be honest. Entrepreneurs love shiny objects, right? New opportunities are awesome, but they can become really distracting and can push you off course. So when you have a written list of goals, you establish your priorities and you can evaluate those new opportunities against those goals to see if they line up. Not to say you should never take on a new opportunity, but you have that written goal to say, hey, do these fall in line, or is this shiny new thing going to pull me off course, right? And we've talked, or you've heard probably in the past, about SMART goals. Tonight, we're going to take it one step further, and I'm going to talk to you about smarter goals. And they're similar to SMART goals, but with a bit of a twist. And it's that twist that makes all the difference. So smarter goals check 7 boxes, okay? Specific, measurable, actionable, risky, time-keyed, exciting, and relevant. Focus is power, right? Visualize water pipes, okay? You can drive the same amount of water through 2 pipes, but you'll create greater force in one of them just by narrowing it in. And that's what we want to do with our goals. We want to narrow them in so that you have more power and more focus. What studies show is that the tougher and more specific the goal, the more likely we are to engage our focus, our creativity, our intellect, and our persistence. Vague goals are not that inspiring. We need specific goals that create a channel for our problem-solving skills, our effort, and more. So I want you to think about how, let's go all the way through. We're going to talk about having a specific goal. So here's an example. I want to learn more about real estate investing. Is that a specific goal? Yes or no in the chat? Specific, not specific? It's not specific. So what aspect of investing do you want to learn more about? And how do you want to learn about it? Ask yourself that question. What aspect of investing do you want to learn more about? How do you want to learn about it? Is it listening to Mark's podcast? Is it reading books? Is it attending UNRAVELLING each month? Is it a combination of those, which I would suggest? So think about, here's a more specific goal. I want to understand how to raise capital in order to purchase my first investment property using other people's money. We just had that question earlier this evening. So that's a specific goal. Let's dive in a little bit deeper. Making that goal measurable. If you don't make a goal measurable, how will you know when you've achieved it? You won't. So an objective target helps us set markers and milestones along the way so that you can chart your progress, because half the fun really is in the progress that we're making. This past summer, Shawn and I completed something called the 500K challenge. Did anyone see that 500K challenge? Yes, no? Did you see us on social media? It was every day for 30 days. And the goal was actually twofold. It was primarily to get us on social media every day, to talk about, talk to people in our network about what it is that we're doing in our business. But doing that did two things. Number one, it pushed us outside our comfort zone. Okay, not me maybe, but definitely Shawn pushed Shawn outside his comfort zone. But getting pushed outside your comfort zone isn't measurable, right? So putting a number to the goal gave us something measurable and specific to work towards, okay? So if your goal is to learn about raising capital and using that capital to buy an investment property, you need to know how much capital you need to raise, okay? Just as an example. The next step is to make your goal actionable. You need to get clear on the primary action and the primary action that you need to take to reach your goal. So going back to that 500K challenge, the action there was to go on social media and talk about our business, okay? Now, if they just left it at that, go on social media and talk about business, that's still really vague. We needed to go live every day. That's the action. Go live every day on Facebook for 30 days. And that is far more actionable. You're able to say yes or no. Did we do it? Did we not do it? Now, this is something different from the SMART goal that we know, and that R instead stands for risky. How many of you like to take on risky goals? Do you like to play safe, or do you like to push the envelope a little bit? Put it in the chat. What are you known for? Are you known for just like, oh, playing it safe? I think I can do this. I'm pretty confident I can reach this goal. Or do you kind of push out? Here's what happens. If we start by asking what's realistic, we are likely to set the bar too low. How many would agree with that? Yes or no? Shawn had a goal. I'm going to talk about you for a little bit. Shawn had a goal to leave his HR job at Toyota. He was at Toyota for 18 years, okay? Great job, great benefits. We had a young family. We hadn't been investing in real estate for a number of years, but it is very hard to leave something like a job that is giving you good pay, good benefits, it's reliable. It's, what's the word you like to always say?
Golden handcuffs.
The golden handcuffs, right? It's stable, right? It's predictable. If we had set a realistic goal, he probably would have stayed working there for another 5 years, for sure. Instead, we took a calculated risk. He took a calculated risk. It was a risk though, all the same. And that year he did more deals than we had before. And we were able to replace his income, okay? The other thing I wanted to point out when it comes to risky, Shawn, how many times have you bought a property before you had the money for it?
Probably most times, especially now in the the later stages of the last few years. Now that I understand that I have the network behind me, I've got the experience, I've got the people, I just know that with the network that I have surrounding me that I'm gonna get it. So I just go and find the deal and I don't worry about that part until after the fact. Sometimes a little bit stressful, but it always comes to fruition.
Well, and that's just it. That's the whole point of a risky goal, is that we need that kind of, I don't want to say gun to the head because that's an awful way of viewing things, but you do need that kind of like urgency to help push you to your goal, Okay. We are driven more strongly to avoid loss than achieve gains. So it needs to be something that you don't want to lose, right? The next part of setting a smarter goal is being time keyed. Okay. If you have a goal, like we said before, to raise more capital, it's missing a sense of urgency. So raising more capital could happen in 3 years, 10 years, 20 years. Even if it's this year, it's still kind of wide out there. But what if you say, I want to raise $500,000 this year? Even better, what if you say, I want to raise $50,000 a month for the next 10 months? Not only have you created a challenge, but you've got to focus, right? Deadlines demand attention and spur action. And you better get your butt in gear because the clock is ticking. So one word of caution about creating a goal that you want to hit by the end of the year, right? I mentioned earlier, I want to make raise this much capital by the end of the year. It's January in 2 weeks. Distant deadlines discourage action. You think you're going to have lots of time to do it, and then your efforts fizzle out. So what Michael Hyatt of this book that we're going over, he suggests considering setting 7 to 10 goals per year, but only focus on 2 or 3 major deadlines per quarter. Any more than that, and your focus will suffer along with your results. So we're going to talk a little bit more on how you can leverage activation triggers in a little bit. The next, I didn't tell you I was putting that picture.
Real nice, nice.
Exciting. Your goals have to be exciting. They have to inspire you. If they're not, they won't have the motivation to push through when things get tedious. So I want you to ask yourself, when you're thinking about your goals, ask yourself, does this inspire me? Does it matter? Why does it matter? Am I willing to work hard for this to happen? If it doesn't check that box, consider changing that goal. It also your goals need to be relevant. And if we're going to succeed, we need goals that align with the legitimate demands of our life, right? Are you a working parent with young children? If you are, your goals are probably going to look a lot different than someone who's in their early 20s or someone who's an empty nester, right? So depending on your circumstances, your goal to say, get into large multifamily investments, it just might not be in the cards right now. Or maybe, pursuing a new hobby that takes up all your time on the weekends, maybe that's going to put unwanted strain on your family. So you need to set goals that are relevant to your actual circumstances and resist the temptation to gear your performance for others, especially if it somehow goes against your values. So if we're going to succeed, we need goals that align with everything, right? And here's just an example. So when you're setting your goals, like I said before, you want to set goals in different areas of your life. And here's some that you might set, for marriage. Create a date night profile on Netflix, pick 20 movies and set a weekly date night beginning in May, right? Because we don't want them all to start in January. We need to filter them out or move them out. Maybe you're going to plan 2 regular dates each month, starting in January. This is a great one. Listen up to this. Pick 3 errands or tasks that your spouse does but doesn't enjoy, and do one of them each week for him or her. So these are just some examples of maybe what you want to include in your goals. Here's some more goals, looking at the social aspect. Attend ONRAVELLING each month. And like I mentioned earlier, DM people that you see in the chat. Introduce yourself. Just because we're not live in a room in London doesn't mean you can't get to know other people that are coming out to ONRAVELLING. Some things you might want to do business-wise: buy a cash flowing income property by March 30th. Maybe you're going to add or follow 10 new real estate investors on social each week. Add them. And post 2 times a week about your journey with real estate investing to start building your brand. Okay, these are all different ideas for you. Oh, I kept going. Look at that. There's more that you can do. I had a lot of fun, obviously, with this. And I feel, how am I doing for time? Ooh, we're running. Okay, we're going to keep moving. So these are just all different ideas. This is what's in the book. It's a smarter goal setting template. I'm going to email this stuff out to you guys so you can take a closer look at that, okay? Both achievement and habit goals can help us design the future that we want. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what that means. An achievement goal versus, actually, how do I go back? An achievement goal versus a habit goal. So achievement goals are one-time accomplishments. They have a clear, definable scope, time frame for completion, you know, something like buying your first duplex, right? That's an achievement goal. Now, you look at someone like Shawn, maybe, who's built, you know, a large business, and you might write off his success to the fact that he got into real estate investing when the prices were lower. But if you ask him about his success, he might chalk it up to a habit. You know, maybe it's because he makes 5 calls for capital every single week. I don't know. But there's something he does on a regular basis that is contributing to his success. And this type of ongoing activity is called a habit goal. Whereas an achievement goal is focused on a one-time accomplishment with a deadline, habit goals involve regular ongoing activity, something like daily meditation, daily gratitude, a monthly coffee date with a friend, or walking on your lunch. Both achievement and habit goals help us design the future we want, especially if we can get the right mix and we can leverage their differences. So, like I mentioned, here's some just examples of an achievement goal versus a habit goal. And this is talking about running, right? And reading and buying wholesale properties. You know, if your achievement goal is to wholesale 9 properties by September, your habit goal might be to run a mail campaign to 10,000 households in 3 markets each month, starting on the 4th of January. This habit of doing your mailer campaign monthly will help you achieve your goal of buying or of wholesaling 9 properties. Does that make sense? Those habit goals work to support your achievement goal. Make sense? Yes? No? Yes. So one more word about setting goals, and that is the best thing in life usually happens when we stretch ourselves and we have to grow to meet it, right? That's definitely true for designing our best year ever, but it runs counter to our instincts, right? So here's a couple steps. When it comes to overcoming that resistance where you think, oh, am I stretching myself too far? You know, acknowledge, right? Once you accept the value of discomfort, it's a lot easier to go forward, right? Understand this is good for me. I need this. That's acknowledging the value. Lean into it. Most of the resistance, like Mark said, is a foot big. It's between your ears. I think that's what a foot. So by leaning into it, we shift our will, right? Notice your fear. You know, negative emotions are going to come up. Don't ignore them. You know, instead, look at them, compare your feelings to what you want to accomplish. You know, is the reward greater than the fear? And then don't overthink it. You know, analysis paralysis is real, but you don't need to see the end from the beginning, right? And you don't need to know how exactly it's going to play out. All you need is clarity on your next step. How are we doing so far, crew? I know this was a long one. I got a little carried away, but there's so much great content here. How are we feeling? Do we like this? Do we want to keep going? Shawn, are you in the chat? Can you? No. Oh, you're not. Okay. Corey, why don't you give me a little chat to me here? Open up your speaker. How are we feeling? What's the consensus?
I'm feeling good. I mean, I could do this stuff all day long. So approaching 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm preaching to the choir here. Okay. Well, the next step, so that's really, I mean, looking at your smarter goals is really important. Really looking at adding in those extra little, you know, the E and R, being risky, being exciting. Those are all super important to making sure we find goals, we create goals that we're going to stick with. Now, step 4, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on because I feel like this finding your why has really been talked about a lot, but it is critical. You know, not only is it critical to make your goals specific, measurable, attainable, a little risky, time keyed, exciting, and relevant. The next step is identifying and connecting to the motivation. Why are you doing this in the first place? Why does it matter? And it's critical because you are going to get into a messy middle, right? It doesn't matter how well thought out or how well planned your goals are. You have to be so strongly connected to why you're doing it that you will have the drive and the stamina to finish when the going gets tough and you want to quit, because guaranteed that will come up. So how do we identify our key motivations? A lot of times it can be in health. It can be a wake-up call. You know, we are fortunate enough that we've had COVID this year. Now I'm saying that very tongue in cheek, but COVID, I think, has really been a wake-up call for a lot of people. A lot of people who have found themselves maybe not knowing when they're going to be going to work next, not knowing, you know, what their financial future looks like. When you have the things, or in a pandemic, it might be your wake-up call to really start investing in real estate. And it's going to take massive action to replace your income. And that, you know, like Mark said, you can either be a victim or you can be the victor. And this is where you get to decide. The key is you need to start mastering your emotion, or sorry, your motivation. And there's 4 key ways to stay motivated as you reach your goal. First, intrinsic rewards. You know, finding the right reward. It's not probably going to be a pair of running shoes or, you know, something tangible, because let's face it, at the end of the day, we can be like, meh, do I really care if I have those new kicks? Probably not. But intrinsic rewards, those things that we feel internally, can typically work better because we connect to it personally and emotionally. So identify your reward and begin anticipating it. So for me, I've started working out at 6 o'clock in the morning. Okay. Awful. I know, like waking up at 5:45. I thought, I'm never going to be able to do this. I hate waking up early, especially this time of year when it's pitch black until 7:30 in the morning. Like, how am I going to get up? It's going to feel like the middle of the night. What ended up happening was I did it and I started feeling really good in the mornings. Like Mark said, you know, his day starts out like this great takeoff. And that's exactly how I felt. You know, you get up, you get your workout in, you get your reading in, you have some quiet time. And the feeling that I got was like, this is awesome. Like, I feel great. And what started to happen is that I looked forward to the feeling. I didn't look forward to waking up at 5:45, but I looked forward to the feeling I knew I would feel afterwards. So that is key. Like, that is huge for you to take in. You want to look forward to that feeling. Another way you can master your motivation is, you know, be realistic about the commitment. Remember how we were told it takes 21 days to create a habit? That's not true. Sometimes it can take a lot longer. But, and here's the thing, it's easy to lose your motivation when your goal runs into overtime, right? Hey, I was supposed to be able to do this, you know, get into this habit in 21 days and I'm still struggling. What's going on? Well, that's not exactly true. Sometimes it can take 41 days to get into a habit. So this is where you need to shift your focus, right? Let go of the outcome, focus on the process. I want you to say that to yourself like 10 times a day. Release from the outcome, focus on the process. Here's a great way to master your motivation when it comes to staying on track with your goals, and that is to gamify the process, okay? Track your streaks. How many days in a row have you been able to complete something, right? Mark did 75 hard. He had to cross that off in his calendar. Actually, I think he had an app. Did you have an app, Mark? Yeah. Yeah, he had an app, and every day he would see that big X go across the calendar. And psychologically, that helps us to stay on track. Funny enough story, back in February, we were on a cruise. We were on a mastermind cruise, actually, and we have a Peloton. And it tracks your streaks, how many weeks in a row you've gone without missing a workout. So we were on this cruise ship, and I get a notification on my phone saying, you're going to lose your streak if you don't work out today. And I ended up doing a workout from the app. Now, the workout was actually a 5-minute meditation, and we were in the bar at the time, but I still did it. I still made sure because I didn't want to lose my streak. So this is a great way you can stay on track with your goals, is Xing off every day or every week, whatever it is, whatever your time key is, that you've completed what it is you want to do. You can also gamify it with another app. Like, you know, Mark found an app for 75 hard. I'm sure there's lots of other apps out there you can find that help you keep on track with your goals. And the last thing is to measure your gains. You know, don't just keep track of when you fail, keep track of when you win. You know, recognize the value in those incremental wins because they all matter. The next part to keep you on track. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up soon. Shawn's just giving me the little like, wrap it up. To keep you on track, build your team. You know, rarely do we achieve anything in life without the support of other people. And it's almost always easier to reach a goal if you have people on your journey. So build those relationships, you know, that are gonna help you reach success, learning, engagement, accountability, competition. You know, there are lots of different types of intentional relationships that can help you grow and reach your goals. And these are just some that I've posted on here. The 5th step is to make it happen. You know, we went through a ton of content, and I know I kind of moved through it quickly, but like I said, this is on YouTube. You'll be able to review it. You know, looking at upgrading your beliefs, to discovering the power of looking backwards so that you can go forwards, you know, bring closure to your past so you can go forward. Looking forward with an abundant mindset versus a scarcity mindset. Designing smarter goals, right? Using a mix of achievement and habit goals. And then your why, you know, what is your why? How can you push yourself outside your comfort zone? And tapping into the power of intrinsic motivation, you know, doing this with friends, staying connected to a community, because of course, this is who's going to help you through when it gets to that messy middle. When it comes to step 5, it's all about making it happen, because it's not enough to just have a plan. You need to do more than that. So the first thing you want to do is set up your plan so that you have some quick wins. Okay, big goals can be incredibly daunting. And if you're not careful, you can let it discourage you. So the solution is to set goals in your discomfort zone, right? Set your big goals that are uncomfortable, but break them down into a series of smaller goals that are within your comfort zone. So you can take those small steps that get you to where you want to go. Do the easiest things first. You know, looking at all those things that you need to do to get you to where you want to go, do the easiest stuff first. You know, how many people start their to-do list with write a to-do list? Oh, I can check that off right away. Perfect, done. You want to have those things you can check off right away. If you get stuck, get help. Ask for help. You have got a huge community here within ONREA. There's other groups if you choose not to work within ONREA. You know, there's lots of other groups out there that are on social media that you can plug into. And you want to really, the key is to build momentum for those early quick wins. Now, the last big point I want to touch on is to use activation triggers. I'm going to tell you more about that. It's hard to make progress when we're stuck in behavioral ruts, right? An activation trigger can help us get us out of those ruts and remind us of a new and better behavior that will help us to reach our goals. The key is to keep your activation trigger easier to achieve than your actual goal, right? You want to leverage the easy to do the hard. So one thing, so for example, when I used to be a corporate wellness consultant, I would meet with people in the corporate world. They would basically be their personal trainer. And I remember this one woman would come to me and she's like, I just can't go for, a walk in the morning. I just can't do it. I can't find the time. I just can't. And I knew she was full of shit, because I know she can. Anyone can go for a walk, set your alarm earlier, whatever it is. And she just kept making excuses. So I told her, that's fine. Don't go for a walk in the morning. All I want you to do is put on your running shoes. She said, excuse me? Like, that's all I want you to do. Just put on your running shoes in the morning. And then you can take them off and get dressed and go on and do your day. And she came back to me the following week for our weekly meeting. And I said, so how did you do with your goal? She's like, do you know how silly I felt just putting on my running shoes and then taking them off to get dressed for work? Of course, when I put on my running shoes, I went for a walk. I'm like, oh, interesting how that works. That's an activation trigger. Do something that's super easy to leverage the thing that you feel is hard, okay? So what I want you to do is, when you're thinking about your goals, create a short list of triggers that you think will help set you up for success, okay? So just some ideas. This could be setting up an automatic deposit in your savings account to help you achieve your goal of saving money, right? It could be throwing out all the processed food in your cupboards, right? To help keep you on track with eating whole foods. It could be, how many people have found themselves mindlessly scrolling on social media and wasting a ton of time? What if you set a time limit on your phone? I've done this. And it will turn off as soon as you spend whatever time frame you give yourself, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever it is. It will say your time is up. And then that's it. You can't use your social media any longer. Okay? So those are all examples of activation triggers. And you can optimize these. So for, like I just said, you can use technology. The key is to experiment, right? You're going to have setbacks. That's normal. But when you hit a wall, don't stop, just pivot. What do I need to do differently? So again, another example from my personal experience was working out. Initially, I was working out, setting that time block for midday. 12 o'clock, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go do my workout and I'll come back. Well, it didn't work, because once I got going in a project, I found I wasn't stopping. I didn't want to take that break because I had, my thoughts were on flow. I didn't want to stop it. So I didn't say, well, I guess I can't work out. Instead, I pivoted. I said, okay, you know what? If I can't stop midday, I'm going to do it before my workday begins. And that has been the tweak that I needed. The last thing is visibility. Visibility is essential if you are going to reach your goals. And there's 3 things you need to do. Number 1 is your daily review. And this is a question someone had about, how do you stay focused? How do you know what to do? You need to review your goals daily. And you can do that in different ways. You can write them down in a notebook or in a planner and look at them every morning. You can do it digitally. You can do it, Evernote, keep it on your phone, have a reminder. It pops up every, the same time of day, every day. You can even print it and put it on your wall, right? There's so many ways that you can do it, but you must look at your goals every day. Make it part of your morning routine when you're brushing your teeth or you're drinking your morning beverage. The daily review is designed to make that connection between your goals and your tasks. I'm going to say that again. The daily review is designed to make that connection between your goals and your tasks. So when Mark says, you know, the thing I do in the evening is look at my calendar for the next day, he's saying, are these tasks that I have lined up in my calendar moving me towards my goal? If they're not, you have the opportunity to reframe, what am I going to do differently? Because these tasks, they're busy work. I don't need to be doing them. They're not going to move me forward, right? What else did I want to say about that? So you can call them your daily big three. Pick 3 things that you need to do that's going to move you towards your goal. If you have a laundry list of 20 things and you just keep adding to that list, you're never going to feel like you get anything accomplished. How many people do that? How many people do that? Put it in the chat. Do you keep a long list of things? And at the end of the day, the list has not gotten shorter and you don't feel like you've accomplished anything. So make a list of 3, keep it short. The next thing you want to do is a weekly review. And this is an after action review. Takes 20 minutes, not very long. Book a Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon, whatever works in your calendar. And for this, you want to scan your goals with a specific focus on your key motivations. You know, think about what went well. Do a little reflection. What went well? What could have used improvement? And what changes do I need to make for next week? Review these next actions for each of your goals to determine your 3 outcomes. What must happen next week so that you can achieve your goals? So that's your weekly review. Your quarterly review is to go through the whole process that we went through tonight. So that's kind of like looking back on, you know, your mindset. Where's my mindset right now? Am I in scarcity? Am I in abundance? You know, what failures have I gone through in this quarter? What can I learn from those? What went well? You know, celebrate the things that have gone well. Recommit to your goals. Revise your goals. What's that? Celebrate. Celebrate. Shawn's ready to celebrate. We are going to celebrate. That's getting warm, by the way. That should still be on ice. You want to revise your goal if you can't commit to it. This is important. Think about that for a minute. Every quarter, look at your goals and be honest with yourself. If you can't reach your goal, revise it or recommit. There's no shame in looking at something and saying, you know what? This isn't going to work. I need to rethink things. I'll give you an example. Back in October, Shawn and I had a goal to hire 2 people. We wanted to hire an assistant and we wanted to hire a bookkeeper. And we were going to have them on board by beginning of December. Here's the thing. We had a lot to learn about the hiring process, number 1, about what we wanted. We needed to think about, okay, what kind of a personality do we need from this person? What sort of tasks do we want them to be doing? There were all of these things that we needed to think through before we actually brought someone on. And what ended up happening was by the time we figured that all out, it was the end of November. Now it's December, and we're going to have no time to train that person before we have some big things happening in January. So we had to revise and we had to say, you know what, hiring 2 people isn't going to happen. What we did do was hire 1 person. We hired a bookkeeper because we knew we had the time to work with her and get things started. And we've revised our goal. We're going to have to hire for an assistant in the future. So again, that's, you know, replacing that goal with another one that you want to achieve might be where you go. This is just a quick view of Michael Hyatt, the guy who wrote this book, what his planner looks like. You can buy his planner online. It's called the Full Focus Planner. I don't have it myself, but it goes through this whole process and really keeps things very simplified. So you can follow along exactly to what he suggests you do, you know, going with your SMARTER goals, your streak tracker, key motivations, you know, what are your next steps? What are your rewards? It's all here. So I can send that out in an email. And that's it for me. I know that was a lot of content that I threw your way, but now you can go out and create your best year ever. I am going to stop sharing my screen so I can see you all now. Oops, what did I do? Stop. There we go. Oh my goodness, I spoke a lot there. But I hope that was helpful. Shawn, come on back in.
Let's have a round of applause for Jen. She could talk for days. Right?
I really could. It's embarrassing. I'm sorry.
That's good. That was a great job. Very well done.
So thank you, everyone. We're going to open this up. Now I can see the chat again. I hope that was helpful. I hope that, you were able to there was a lot there. So like I said, YouTube will have the replay up and I'll be emailing out some things for you guys to review. But I hope that was helpful in helping you really move forward into 2021 with confidence, with excitement, and with a plan that will help you reach the goals that you're looking to reach. Let's actually, all you guys that are on here, Corey, Mark, why don't you unmute yourselves? Let's see what questions came up. So one of the questions from earlier, what are the 1 or 2 big things you guys wish you knew in your first year of investing? Corey, I'm going to ask you to go first. What are 1 or 2 big things you wish you had known when you first got started?
It's so easy to overthink things in real estate. There's a lot of money out there. There's more money than you can even imagine, and money's so cheap right now. But there's always a lot of money on the sidelines. And I wish I would have just bought more properties. I was afraid to even buy multis at full price. You're always trying to get a deal on something. When you do the math on how good it is to get into a high quality multifamily property, just start the clock and get, don't overpay. I'm not saying go and put all these crazy over asking, that's kind of like the trend these days, but don't be cheap either. I mean, tie up the deal.
What about you, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, my answer's probably very predictable. But in my experience, if I could turn back the clock, it would have been investing in myself first and not going through that period of time. Now, mind you, I wouldn't have known any better. So I had to go on that route first, because 99% of investors will first, actually 100% of investors may say, hey, I'm not going to get a mentor because I can use that money as a down payment on a property and I'll get a mentor next time. Oh, I'll get the next one. And sure, you'll get the next one, but how much time have you lost? It's about compression of time. So that would be my advice. Invest in yourself first, because, we talk a lot about private money and using OPM. But again, the question is would you lend to yourself? If you lack the skill, lack the confidence, would you lend to yourself? If you know the answer to that, go get help.
How about you?
Yeah, I'm with, well, obviously I agree with both of them, but I'm with Mark on the time. It took me 10 years from the time that I started to invest until I actually paid for a coach or a mentor, or actually even contemplated it, really. In that 10 years, I could have compressed that time and I could have been so much further ahead than I was at that time frame. So I think, just looking back, that's probably the number one thing that I would have changed.
Yeah, totally. Let me see, done. Can you provide thoughts or advice on purchasing properties unseen? So for example, purchasing multi-units out of the province via virtual tours and not seeing a property in person.
Well, I can give you from my experience, I buy properties unseen all the time. I think it's, you have to have, as Mark was saying, confidence about your numbers, number one. So you need to know, if you can't be there physically, you need to at least have someone there who can give you the advice on what those numbers are supposed to be or what they should look like. And then you can extrapolate that from, renos cost this much and it should be this much. You can sort of get an idea of what those are. But knowing the end number, the ARV, where the numbers should land, you can always work back, right? And then, so it's just about having the confidence to know that those numbers are going to be realistic and that you can confidently look at those. And then you just err on the side of caution, right? I'm always more conservative with those, ones that I haven't seen, because you know that there's going to be something. You need to have some sort of contingency fund and some funds there just in case, because there will be something. And then you just have to take action sometimes, right? Like it's just about you can be confident up to a point, but you're never going to be 100% there. So sometimes you just have to make that jump.
For sure.
Yeah, if I can add to that too, is I love what you said there, Shawn. And number one is the numbers don't lie. Run the math, run the numbers. If it fits, great. If it doesn't, then it's a bad deal. It doesn't matter if it's in your backyard. It's a bad deal if the numbers don't make sense. So that's the first thing. Know your numbers. Two is confidence. Just if the numbers make sense, then do it. Don't overthink it. If you have any hesitation, put your due diligence clauses on there. You can go hire a home inspector remotely. I mean, so there's different things we can do there. It just, you have to have confidence. And the only way, like I said before, the only way you can have confidence is by developing confidence, by taking action.
For sure.
Yeah, and sometimes, like if you're looking at a province, there's a period of time where I was investing in the States and I wasn't going down there to see all the properties. But sometimes that's actually a great option. You know, you have to be a little more resourceful and just make things happen that way without having, without seeing them. But do you, if you're a stock market investor, do you have to go and see the headquarters of Google before you go buy the stock? I mean, I'm not saying this is for the absolute new beginner. Like I think beginners, probably buying your first property sight unseen could be a disaster. Not probably, but would be. But as you get more and more seasoned, then definitely tying properties up without seeing them. Going to physically go see a property before you put an offer is very slow and inefficient. So it's okay. You gotta have that confident talk with the listing agent. Make sure your agent can have that conversation. Look, this is a serious buyer. They don't need to see the property. They really like it. They just have a couple conditions here. They're not here to waste your time. They have a great track record, whatever it might be, right? So those are just some thoughts.
One thing, Corey, as well, is I think the power of leverage too. I mean, if I'm looking at investing, let's just say in Alberta, and within the network, there's an investor out there. If I don't have that confidence, why don't I just JV, maybe come in as the money partner or what have you, JV with someone that knows the territory, knows what, and then start building that little bit of confidence there with someone that's already investing there. That could be another angle too.
Yep. Awesome stuff. Amanda asks, Amanda, hi. How can you make a goal not feel like a chore? Well, I think the short answer is sometimes your goals are going to feel like chores, and it's the pushing through that feeling. Sometimes that just has to happen. But, going back to what I was talking about, motivation is understanding what are your motivators, right? Like, what is that thing that's going to motivate you? For me, it's how am I going to feel when this is done, right? So it's tapping into that and focusing on that. Mark, do you have any other thoughts on how to keep a goal from feeling like a chore?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two things. Number one is there's a saying, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. So I'll take the pain of discipline any day of the week. But the second thing is sometimes it's not about focusing on that big goal, because that big goal can be is so monumentous, and we create that fear. It's like someone that says they're going to scale Mount Everest, and they're just looking at the summit the whole time. Their mind's going to tell them you can't do this. So why not focus on your daily actionable items? So I loved your presentation there, because that's what me and my business partners do. That's what I do. If I want to lose 50 pounds, I'm not focusing on that 50 pounds of weight. I'm focusing on my daily actions I can control. I can't control how much weight I can lose, but I can control how I eat today. I can control if I go to the gym and so forth. So that's how I would tackle that, instead of looking at it as a chore, saying, hey, that goal is, just put it as a daily action. The little steps. There's fantastic books about this, like The Slight Edge, The Compound Effect, Atomic Habits. That's my counsel on that.
Yeah, great. And I, just side note, Slight Edge and The Compound Effect are very similar, but for me, I found The Compound Effect was so powerful, and it had some great tools in on their website. Is it Darren Hardy on his website? So guys, if you haven't read that book, I would highly suggest, moving off of goal setting is to pick up that book and read that book. It was awesome. Rashid asks, are off-market deals safe? Where do you find off-market deals? Who wants to take that one?
Corey?
Sure. And maybe before we get to that one, I just want to comment, you know, if your goal feels like a chore, you know, Jen had some great points. I mean, you can gamify it, you can chunk it down. You don't eat an elephant in one bite. By gosh, you got to start off with like the smallest pieces, build your confidence. And, you know, you know, repetition is the master of all skill, but so is praise, right? If you're not praising yourself, if you're not actually like putting your hand up and bending over and patting yourself on the back and saying, hey, I did awesome today. You know, I've actually, I was just actually doing my 5-minute journal as we're on the, you know, conference call here, but you got to recognize your own success, whether it's big or small. And, you know, people always think they have to have the big win. You know, I got to have that big A-roll picture of me holding the keys or something. It's like, no, acknowledge yourself for making 3 calls to like, you know, listed off, you know, properties or whatever it might be, right? Three a day for the whole year is like 1,000 calls. That's huge. But off-market deals are that I actually prefer them. You know, right now in this market, you can go find your own opportunities. You need to know what you're looking for, and you have to have a good understanding of the market to know if it's a good deal or not. But I'm actually seeing a couple tomorrow, and you know, I'd rather have an off-market deal where I'm not dealing with all kinds of competition and the auction effect. You know, you have a lot more. You know, if you can help that person out one-on-one, that's huge. But some of Shawn's flips look kind of scary, the before pictures, but after he makes
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same as you. I much prefer to have off-market deals. You know, some of the stuff that I'm getting now coming in from agents that are, you know, at least worthy of looking at to do a flip, they're still getting 10, 15, 20 offers on them, right? And I can't compete with that. If I'm going to be flipping it and putting in all this money and then still trying to make money from that deal, there's no way I can spend the same amount of money as someone who's going to do the work themselves or who's going to do it and live in that property, right? So I need to find deals that are not going to be getting those all those offers in on them, and the only way to do that is off market. So are they just as good, or are they scary? They're not scary to me. I mean, they're just the same as any other house usually. You know, besides the ones I buy that that would go on market, they're just not going through the same channels, right?
And I think there's a key term. There's off market. Just because they're off market deals, especially the newer investors, doesn't necessarily mean they're good deals. And that's what it comes down to. You have to know your strategy. You need to know your numbers, and you need to know your exit strategies. I've seen that so many times where someone says, "Oh, look, someone's wholesaling this," and it's like, "Are you kidding me?" Like that doesn't make like. And now again, to each your own. But so seek advice, seek counsel. But the numbers, you have to run the numbers. Just because it's someone's wholesaling it doesn't mean it is a good deal. So it's a psychology effect. Oh, it's off market, has to be a good deal.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a seller's market. If they can save off that and run the numbers.
Absolutely. And actually, it's interesting. I went to an auction, a house auction Shawn sent me back in the spring to bid on a house. And I was given a number not to go over because he had run the numbers. He had run the comps. He knew we had walked the property, knew how much work it needed, and, stood on the lawn. And the auctioneer started, and the first bid was way above what we would have ever paid for it as investors. And a smart investor would have known that. But I feel like this whole, I want to be a wholesaler, thing coming up is that people aren't understanding how it works. They're not understanding what someone like Shawn, a flipper, is looking for, the numbers that they're looking for when they're looking for a deal. And this poor sucker that bought the property, I saw him post it like a week later on some of our real estate groups trying to wholesale this thing for way more, like it made no sense. And clearly he didn't know what he was doing. So absolutely, like what Mark said, you need to know your numbers, because just because it's off market or just because a wholesaler is selling it does not mean it's a good deal. we have any other questions? I don't think I saw any more come up. I know we ran late tonight. That's my fault. Sorry.
Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it for tonight. So
talk about January and.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say a giant thank you to everyone that came out tonight and has been coming out to our Zoom ONRA meetings and putting up with my technology failures.
2020.
Oh, 2020. You would think I would have learned by now how to run this darn thing, but thank you so much for your patience and for keep coming back. It's been a great year. It's been a crazy year, but I love seeing you guys keep coming back. You keep investing in yourself and plugging in, and it's so important. And I love seeing so many new people every month. It's incredible to me. I love it. So I hope I'll see you back again. We have decided that we are going to take a pause on ONRIA. We will be taking a break for January, but we will be coming back in February. And I can tell you, one of our speakers, I am so excited. We are going to be having Rasna Aurora coming on. I just love saying her name. It's so pretty. For those, I'm sure most of you who are in the real estate groups have heard about Rasna. She has been posting a lot. She's on fire. She's done an incredible amount of deals in 2020. It has been a massive year of growth for her. And she's going to be sharing about her growth, what it's looked like, how she got there, what she's had to put in place over the past year to get to where her and her husband or fiance are. So I'm really excited. But like I said, we are going to take a break in January. So don't forget about us. I will be posting some updates soon, but I hope everyone enjoys their holiday. I know it's going to be a little different than usual. But make sure you take time to tell the ones you love that you love them. I think what COVID has taught us is really, how important relationships are, how important, community is when it's been taken away, and it's so much harder to do now. So I hope everyone has a very safe and happy holiday. Shawn, you want to mention anything else?
Yeah, I just, well, number one, I want to have a huge thank you to Jenn. Jenn is she drives everything here for ONRIA. She basically does every single thing. She's the speaker. She does all the marketing. I'm just the eye candy that comes in, at the end of the day. But really just to thank you, Jenn, for everything throughout the year, for getting stuff done. I want to thank, that's for later, let's celebrate. Yes, and I want to say thanks to everyone else behind the scenes, like Corey and Jeff Weibo. I love the fact that, even though we couldn't continue in London and have people come in and we couldn't have the face-to-face, I still really enjoy having these monthly meetings on Zoom. I can't see you guys, but I can see in the chat, and I know that you're there, and I know that everyone keeps coming back and all the new people. So thank you for coming all year. I really hope that everyone has a good Christmas and a good holidays. And I just, I'm looking forward to coming back in the new year in February refreshed, and looking forward to see everyone again.
Absolutely. Thanks again to Mark for being our speaker this evening and sharing his journey, and to Corey for, of course, helping us with ONRIA, and Jeff, who might have stepped away, but that's okay. He's probably having a
cocktail
or two.
Do you have any asks before the event's over here, Jenn? Like your Facebook page or anything like that?
Thanks for the reminder. What I noticed is that we have over, I think 2,000 likes now on Facebook and almost 2,000 on Instagram. So if you don't yet follow us on our social media, please make sure you like us on Facebook. Make sure you follow us on Instagram. The more we can grow our page, the more people learn about us, and we can keep helping other investors. This really is a passion project for us. It's a way for us to give back to, the people that helped us when we were starting to learn about real estate investing, and we really enjoy it. So make sure you do like those pages, and mark your calendar for, I guess I don't have a date yet for February. Never mind. I won't tell you a date. Typically it's mid-month. So you'll be hearing from me mid-January. We'll start talking about what's happening in February. That's it. That's all. Thanks so much, guys, for sticking with us. I know it was a late night, Take care. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2021.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.